I have a guest with me today. She uncovered a plot by a group of rivals to take down medical medium and our community. To be safe, she chose to record the calls legally, and they were caught red-handed. We're talking about the plot. A group of rivals planned in a premeditative way to take down medical medium and the community. Make it go away. Take it all down. But they got caught red-handed. They got found out. If they didn't, no one would be the wiser. Never before has this ever happened in the health and wellness space. When you listen to the plot, your jaw may hit the floor. Strap yourself in for episode 2. Get ready for the next round of the Plotters recordings.
Holy shit, we need to get this guy off the internet. First, chop at the tree.
Parting of the Red Seas.
Take him down.
Tip the scale.
Multiple steps.
Take Anthony down.
Step 1 in this process.
There's no coming back from that.
When I just hear those again and the intentions behind them, I mean, I'm still in shock, first of all, but you can feel the negative energy and the sense of their goals. And the more recordings we hear, the more is uncovered. It's bone chilling. Back with me on the Medical Medium podcast is Amber Visicaro, who the medical medium community is calling our hero right now. I'm honored to have you here, Amber. Today we're going to go through some more recordings that were obtained legally, and of these anonymous sources who are actually plotting the takedown of the medical medium and the medical medium community. And when I say that, I mean, I just can't believe what they were doing. But the facts are there, the information's there, and the recordings are there, undeniable. And it's just unbelievable. For the people who haven't heard the last episode, if you can, and you have a moment, try to catch up and listen to episode 35, part 1, plot to take down the medical medium. Amber, first, can you give us a little recap on some of your recordings from the last episode?
Of course. In part 1, we talked about how there was an attempt to indoctrinate me into a group of people with health and wellness businesses that have plotted a premeditated plan to go to a journalist at a mainstream media outlet with a manipulated story that would, if all went according to their plan, cause so much upset that the medical medium community would all come crashing down. And in the process, they're exploiting a deceased person, shaping a story that they want to, the way that they want to spin it, leaving out facts and content, cherry picking evidence that suits a preferred narrative, with a plan of publishing additional articles and ultimately to sell a negative documentary. And how we talked about how I obtained legal recordings of these phone conversations.
Versus like when the movie came out or the Netflix thing came out, like this is gonna happen.
Holy shit. There's gonna be a documentary about it all?
That's our vision. I mean, it's not gonna be first you have to publish the article, and then once the article is published, then people start bidding on the piece. The intention and action I had is that it's going a Netflix series like Bad Vegan will be made about Anthony Rowe. And it will be a fucking hit because what he pulled off is unbelievable. I mean, and the celebrity angle, like this Netflix version is going to go bonkers. I mean, I connected with a lot of people too. Like, he really appreciated Ash and I, and then just gave him a lot of direction for this piece. We gave him a lot of clarity, sort of like, he was having a hard time wrapping his head around a lot of it. He had to like really hammer it in his head, like what's going on, and like explain the details and point him towards this, point him towards that. But I was upset, and I said, like, you are scared. You're scared. Like, what's going on? What's the delay? Like, you have everything. It's on the fucking phone. Like, you have all this stuff. Like, what more do you need? Mm-hmm. And then I basically threatened him. I will definitely take responsibility for I've been one of the people that's been pushing for this. If you want to take the list of people of why this article's coming out, and why it's coming out in a mainstream publication is number one, Ash is the number one responsible. I would be number two, would be number three, would be number four. It was us four who decided this needs to happen.
So this is what this group of plotters did to sell a story, to sell their narrative. They had to hammer it into the head of a journalist, point him here and point him there, and ultimately threaten him. And today I'm going to unpack more of the content from the calls that I had with these plotters as part of the attempt that they had to recruit me. That really speaks to a serious lack of credibility in each of them as sources.
And had given me seeds. She planted seeds that I had not heard when I saw the documentary. And then when I saw the documentary and I flipped, that's when I started collecting way more information. I went back to I asked for more.
First of all, I want to point out here that this plotter is stating in his own words that what ultimately what turned him against medical medium wasn't a story. It wasn't a piece of information about a deceased person. It was him watching a documentary that a co-plotter's husband helped to create, which made him think to himself, that could be Anthony. That was his light bulb moment. Next, he says he turned to a source that he deems as being reliable, who made him so confident that medical medium was problematic that he became the number 2 instigator of this entire takedown plot.
Jokes is like a CIA agent. I mean, this, and she'll be happy to talk to you, Amber. You can talk to anybody you want in this story. But she, went and found pictures of him in his high school yearbook.
Can I hear that one again?
Jokes is like a CIA agent. I mean, this, and she'll be happy to talk to you, Amber. You can talk to anybody you want in this story. But she, went and found pictures of him in his high school yearbook.
So that sounds like the plotters are looking for anything they can find. I guess they're in my yearbook looking for pictures. And I heard CIA agent. So I guess there must be something these plotters are doing. So, and when I even think back to the other clips you played for us, there were 4 people. They had a ranking system. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4. And they brought this plot to the media company. That's what it looks like too through all of that. And it was inspired by a husband who actually does cinematography, meaning that was involved. And I'm just so blown away in a sense where I'm actually in shock. So
Really, I was just a seeker of truth like you are. I just wanted to know the truth, so I was surprised. He talked to me on the phone, and we talked for a good long time, but one of the stories he told me, I have no idea why. I don't remember why our conversation went here, but I think this is the underlying thing for Anthony all the time, is that I think in his childhood, growing up in Maine, and it's a different world, especially back then. And he probably didn't fit in. I think the kids picked on him a lot. He was mentioning stuff that how the boys, when he had a little job after school, a little work job. And he was walking home and they set up, it was wintertime, and they set up a snow trap. I don't know what to call it. Whereas when he walked by a certain spot, they all bombarded him with snowballs. And he's still telling this story to this day to me. So apparently it hurt him a lot, both physically and mentally. I think he was bloody and bleeding, and you have to go home and explain to your mom why you're all beat up. But I think that was a common thing. The kids were mean to him. So I don't know. maybe he snapped. I don't know. He just has this strong will to feel important. And that's what I say, to kind of get back at everyone, to be something really special.
So here we are again. This is somebody who this group is relying on for so-called factual information that ultimately the journalist ends up relying on for factual information. And we have again the truth seeker phrase, truth seeker, truth seeker. And I want to talk about this so-called truth. Anthony, is this a story that you shared with this woman?
I haven't experienced a childhood experience like that. So I'm, confused about that. That seems like the story from the movie Elf, where Buddy and Michael were in Central Park and they got attacked by some kids and some bullies. That's what it reminds me of.
Ow! Son of a nutcracker!
And he's still telling this story to this day to me.
So if I hear that clip correctly, that recording, she's saying, I'm still telling that same snowball fight story today, or maybe the other day, or it sounds like now. I'm still telling that person the story. But I haven't talked to this person in years.
I don't know. Maybe he snapped. I don't know. He just has this strong will to feel important. And that's what I say, to kind of get back at everyone, to be something really special. And I really don't think it's spirit. I think he has a mental disorder, actually, because there's so many things that are signals for that. Maybe he really does think he hears voices, There's a lot of people with schizophrenia out there, and they think they hear voices as well. And not necessarily bad ones.
Basically, this woman doesn't believe in your gift, which is fine, right? To each their own. But she's filling in that gap by diagnosing you as if she's a psychiatrist when she's not, based on stories that you never actually told her. And one major theme that I observe from these recordings is that several people in this group weaponize the fact that they've ever spoken to you personally at all, even if you were not actually close to them in reality, and they use it as leverage to position themselves as people who have insider information to recruit others and as a marker of credibility to say whatever they want about you in general.
Okay.
So we know talked to a lot of people and gathered all kinds of information. He has a shit ton from.
Here, this plotter is saying that the journalist that they sought out for this mainstream media article got a ton of his information from this woman. And I'm not exactly sure that she sounds like a reliable source, to say the least.
We don't know, like, when he woke up from the coma, is he mentally disturbed? Does he actually think he hears a voice? Are these people who do, like, fucking crazy sacrifices of, like, I don't even know. Like, who knows? Like, are they acting like they're Christian, but they're really killing little babies? Like, I don't fucking know. It's crazy.
So this guy is plotting a plan with a group of people, a group of plotters. They've taken it to a major mainstream media outlet. And at the same time they're plotting, they're associating me with sacrificing babies or killing babies while they're being anonymous sources. And yeah, this is amazing, actually.
But there's like no one more trustworthy than Robbie. So I know that whatever he shared with you is like spot on.
Can we hear that one again?
But there's like no one more trustworthy than Robbie. So I know that whatever he shared with you is like spot on.
The most trustworthy. That was really interesting to me. Is that what we're calling someone who's making up horrifying allegations of sacrificing and killing babies, who completely hid this sinister plot from me for over a year and who plotted behind your back, Anthony, and behind everyone's back.
Well, I'm so glad you're on the team of the good guys. At least, I don't know about good, but at least honest. We've got a mix, but at least we're trying to be honest about it.
Is it possible to hear that one again?
Well, I'm so glad you're on the team of the good guys. At least, I don't know about good, but at least honest. We've got a mix, but at least we're trying to be honest about it.
Throughout these recordings, the plotters contradict themselves a lot like this. Here, it's at first it's we're the good guys. And then, well, I don't know about good, but at least honest. And then she says, it's, well, we're trying to be honest. This is who is named as the number one source. And she's here contradicting herself again and again as she's referring to herself and her fellow colluders.
Anthony, that's not even his real name, by the way. I'm not sure if you knew that.
It's not?
It's not. No, it's not.
What is it?
I don't even know. I don't care anymore. That's not his real name, though.
This plotter was so confident in the negative things that she was saying, so confident in saying that Anthony is not your real name, and yet she doesn't actually know what it is. She doesn't know, she doesn't care. It's like she can't even be bothered to get her information straight before spreading rumors.
Anthony, that's not even his real name, by the way. I'm not sure if you knew that.
It's not?
It's not. No, it's not.
What is it?
I don't even know. I don't care anymore. That's not his real name, though.
Okay, so that's not my real name I'm hearing. The interesting part is the person doesn't even care to even know, but this person is a source that's supposed to be relied upon. When I was growing up, no one could pronounce my last name right. And so my school teachers and other people would call me Anthony William. And Anthony William is my legal name. That is my real name. My real name's Anthony. And so when I hear that, it sounds like my name Anthony is not even my real name. So if that rumor is going around, I could see people being like, whoa, that's not even his real name, but it's Anthony William. That's my real name. And that's what I go by. And there's nothing wrong with trying to maintain a little bit of privacy too. But my name is not hidden by any means. My last name's not hidden at all. It's easy to find. It's not as if it's being hidden. But throughout my life, my family has called me Anthony William. My mom calls me Anthony William, even up to this point now, today. And that is my legal name. And Anthony is my first legal name, too.
Throughout these recordings, I found that this group often conflated privacy with dishonesty. They're acting like you're deceiving people when Anthony William is your actual legal first name and middle name. Your last name is out there, like you said, you're not hiding it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to maintain some privacy. Meanwhile, these plotters didn't want anyone to know what they've been up to and what they've been doing.
I'm not afraid of Anthony. I'm being strategic. If I wanted, I thought about when I talked to him, well, do you want to be off the record, on background? I'm like, what do you want to do here? And the truth is, I would be happy to be on the record and just like say, all right, Robbie said that. But the strategic reason behind that's not smart, because I'm building something different with my life. And I don't want to be associated with this in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. I want to just completely distance myself and be gone. Mm-hmm. I will not be in the documentary. My name will not be in the article. I'm just leaving.
That's tragic in so many ways. So I'm speechless in the moment when I hear that, because what that plotter is doing is telling a journalist whatever they want to tell them, going anonymous. The person's not afraid of me. The person just doesn't want to be involved on any level after the bomb is dropped and a documentary happens. because that's part of the plotter's plan altogether. But this person works in the health space, is a business owner, or works in business in the health space. And here that person is basically plotting to plan, or strategically plotting to plan the takedown of medical medium and the community. The journalist is allowing it. That's a whole nother story. And to unpack this, I mean, we can sit here and unpack this for a long time, but I know we have to move on. There's so much more. But this is a person working in the health space, competitor, rival, whatever you want to say, a plotter with a group of people, directing a journalist, staying anonymous, going on their merry way to keep doing what they're doing in the health space, in the health field, not having their name attached to anything. And they're not afraid of me at the same time. And all this is perfectly fine to the journalist, perfectly fine, obviously, to the media company. I find it despicable.
Great. Like he's really easygoing, and if you say to him like, I want to talk on background, or I want to talk off the record, or however you want to do it, if you say I don't want you to quote me, or say put my name anywhere, he's happy to do that. And he's also like, he'll change your name if you want a particular statement to be said, but you want to use a different name.
Just make sure you are upfront about anonymity. Do you want your name mentioned or not? Be sure you say clearly what you want. And my recommendation for that, what that is to not. Don't go there. You don't want to be sued for any kind of defamation of character.
So on these recordings, I'm pretty sure that what is being described here is not how real journalism is supposed to be conducted. And one of these plotters is clearly aware that what she's saying is most likely defamatory. It's like she's going to go after you, but she's not going to put her name behind it. It sounds like she's not confident in what she's saying and concerned that what she's saying might not be true. And some of these sources won't put their names behind their statements because they admittedly don't completely stand behind their statements.
So if he had picked something out that was like, yes, like I stand by that statement, like 1,000% every single moment of my life, like I would have been like, yeah, you can use my name. But the things that he asked me to go on record were like not things that I was just like, I said that, but that's not really like something that I feel like super strongly about, that feels important to have my name behind it. So I ended up saying no. And he was very kind about it. I mean, he asked me to explain why, and I did, but he didn't like push me about it at all. So
that's a major red flag to me. I think that sounds like something that the journalist should have pushed her on. If she doesn't feel comfortable with what she said, she shouldn't have it in print. The fact that the journalist knows that she doesn't even fully stand behind what she said, to me, that shouldn't even go in an article then.
I really don't even know what to say about this. When you unpack this one, the person doesn't feel comfortable standing behind their statement. That alone, right? And then the person isn't even 1,000% confident. The statement is not just stand buyable, but can even be seen. The person wants to be anonymous in the back end, but yet isn't standing behind the statements, doesn't want them out front on record. Journalist seems to be fine with it. I mean, it just seems like a weaponization of some kind. It's almost like just fit anything in. Oh, you want to be in the back end? Then fine. You don't have to stand behind these comments. We'll put them in the article, but don't worry, we won't say your name. Maybe they'll even change a name, of course, put a fake name. It's a type of wordsmithing for sure. And they do this, I think, to make the reader feel any way they want them to feel. And they kind of put what they want to put in, even if the person isn't standing behind it. And this should be the bigger story, because this is unconscionable.
Yeah. It's not a natural situation. It's not a natural story. It seems as though these people don't know much of the story, or they don't feel comfortable standing by their own statements. And there's some misinformation mixed in. And then you've got a journalist listening as if this stuff is all, real. It's kind of like a favoring of the plotted plan. And that falls in the line of, some character assassination territory. It's like you can take sources that are filled with misinformation, and then you can weaponize it, like you said. You can slip in a fact or two somewhere around it, and then you make it as if it's law or complete truth. And it's really interesting. It seems like it's a way of telling the story the way that they want the reader to read it. And so obviously I had some questions about all of this as I was listening to this group of individuals. I was trying to figure it all out. I really, truly was not asking a huge amount of questions. I was mostly just trying to hear these people out, as you can hear in the recordings that we're sharing. But it was interesting to me that throughout this process, they quickly became uncomfortable with me asking questions at all.
You might want to stop talking to people at some point. I mean, I can't imagine you don't have enough information by now. I mean, again, I don't know how much more you need to know, Amber, but
yeah.
Obviously, and if you don't like to go ahead, I'm just saying, I'm just looking out for you. I guess my question is, how long do you want to stay in the state?
I think Robbie's kind of frustrated with me because I've been asking questions.
And it's happening for me, too.
This group of plotters feels so strongly about you being so problematic that they have taken it this far so as to plot to take you down, to take the community down. Yet they don't even know medical medium information that well.
You've probably read the books more thoroughly than I have. Well, the first one, I actually really liked the very first one that came out. It was kind of real, except for the stories. I kind of skipped over those, but all the protocols and stuff were very helpful, and the information seems sincere. Whether it's right or not, I don't know, but it certainly was interesting, and I had never heard of what he was talking about before I met him. So I am grateful for that, because I think what he's mentioning is very real.
This woman, this plotter, is admitting that the information is helpful. She's also saying that she skimmed through it, so she didn't really study the book. She didn't really study the information. And then at the same time, she was telling me that practitioners come to her to learn from her all the time. And she was suggesting that I could come to her for practitioner support and education.
Are there people who are applying medical medium information still who call you and ask for advice?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's mostly what I have. I have very few clients that found me outside of medical medium. And word of mouth is really big. And when somebody mentions you on social media,
yeah,
you're probably there right now with getting recommendations. And people love word of mouth from others who are being helped.
Yeah. Yeah. But also, so practitioners who are applying medical medium information will ask you for advice?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This plotter is positioning herself as an authority, as a health practitioner, when it seems as though she doesn't even really know medical medium information. She doesn't believe in spirit. It sounds like she really only read the first book. It sounds like she skimmed it at best. There are 8 books plus a ton of other resources.
If food were the only key to healing, which is what Anthony implies, really. But do you ever hear Anthony talk about anything other than what to eat? Not a lot, right? I mean, he does get into some spiritual stuff and things, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, he had talked about, he's got the angels, he's got the the soul healing techniques. He's got in the healing path resource he talked about, which I think that that's something that nobody really comes across anymore. He talked about the importance of like exercise and sunlight and all of those other sorts of things.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I have heard the healing path, but not for a really long time.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. He did mention some of that. Yeah, I don't know. He really focuses on food, though, now.
So here I wasn't going to go into explaining more. I wasn't about to try to give this woman a lesson on how all of the books and how all of the resources are about so much more than just how to eat. I wanted to see what she knew, and it became really clear to me that this group, again, does not really understand medical medium information for what it is, and yet their sources, they feel so strongly about you and the information being problematic in some way, shape, or form, yet they admit to applying it in their own lives explicitly without citing the source.
Maybe you can still take that following and just, do your own thing aside from medical medium, not without, like Robbie said, without mentioning him, but still teach people what you've learned and what you practice yourself and what works for you, and kind of work on it from that perspective. Since you have a following already, you could.
Now, do I, when I talk to people about health and well-being, use a million things that I've learned from him? 100%. I mean, getting this information out in the world, he shouldn't care who gets credit for it. I don't know any healer, any real healer that wants to have credit for things. And trust me, you didn't need to credit Anthony for what you've learned. And you can do that without ever using the word medical medium or Anthony William,
Here, this group is coaching me on how to not cite the information. They're coaching me on how to plagiarize the information. Unlike them, I cite the source, and I always will, because it's about integrity. It's about caring about other people. It's about people needing to heal. Citing the source is about respect. Not citing the source ends up resulting in people putting their own spin on it, even if they don't mean to. It gets tainted, right, by human interference. The information gets changed and further distorted as it gets passed down the line, becoming something else entirely, like a game of telephone, where no one can fully get what they need to heal. And, it makes me question the level of compassion that this group has for others. Citing the source is not about Anthony. It's not about you, Anthony. It's not about you seeking notoriety in any way, shape, or form. I know that it comes from a place of deeply caring about people and people having access to the original pure information, which just so happens to be free. You can access it all for free so that the people who are struggling and suffering can take it as far as they need to go. This group, they want to brand themselves. They want to be somebody. They all have businesses in the wellness space. They're trying to convince me to have no integrity. They're essentially saying that all of the copyrighted original information is free game. They want rights to that. They feel entitled to that. They feel entitled to continue on with their brands. Meanwhile, they want a post-medical medium era. They want it all down. They want everyone to stop mentioning medical medium at all. These people with these intentions are the main sources behind this plot and this article.
They're plagiarized from other books who were his mentors before him. Everybody knows that apples have X vitamins and Z vitamins, and his information is very, very, very basic.
Vitamins in an apple is interesting because the medical medium information, the books, they really don't talk much about vitamins. That's actually what everybody else does out there because that's essentially as far as science and research goes. And I know that you and I, Anthony, could talk for hours about what makes medical medium information completely unique and original. It's quite an insult to oversimplify the information like that and to try to discredit how, unlike anything else that's out there that's ever been done before in history, it is. And whether people want to admit that or not, it's true. And then we've got this plotter who's accusing you of plagiarizing information.
It's a serious accusation. So when I think about that and I see what the plotter's saying, that's a serious accusation. First of all, my publisher would never let one of the medical medium books out the door if it was plagiarized on any level. They have a lot of editors. They purposely look for things like that. They can't just let the book go out because these books are symptoms and conditions and a lot of intricate information about the body. All that stuff has to be cited from studies and places of origin that could be like medical clinics, articles that are out there from doctors. It all has to be cited. It can't just be thrown into a medical medium book and then sent out the door by the publisher. So there's no such thing as plagiarizing in these books. And these books would have to cite every single thing everywhere out there. The publisher wouldn't have it in any other way. So yeah, so that accusation is ridiculous.
He's very smart, and yeah, probably has some kind of personality disorder, potentially narcissism, and I don't know what else.
I found that to be a really interesting assessment coming from a group of individuals that refers to themselves as elite.
But I'm letting you know, like, we are an elite group of people. We're in an elite category, you know?
I want to play this clip again in a minute because recently one of these plotters claimed that they tried to claim that nobody ever referred to themselves as elites. And I want to display that I'm not putting words in these people's mouths. These are actually things that were said by them on these recordings. I also want to point out the fact that you, Anthony, have never referred to yourself as elite. You've never referred to yourself as being above anyone or anything of the like. There's this really twisted dynamic with this group where it's like it seems like everything that they're accusing you of is actually what they're doing and how they are.
But I'm letting you know, like, we are an elite group of people. We're in an elite category, you know?
And by the way, Ash doesn't need to work. Ash has ever. The woman
She's family money.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, private jet and plus.
Did I hear that correctly? Can I hear that back, that clip?
And by the way, Ash doesn't need to work. Ash has ever. The woman
She's family money.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, private jet and plus.
So basically, they're saying they're an elite group. You've shown all the recordings so far, or a fraction of them really from what you said you have, but you showed recordings showing that they're plotting this plan. They went to the media company, mainstream media outlet. They are strategic about it, and they even have a ranking system, like the number one person involved, number two, number three, number four. And now I hear one of the people has a private jet. They don't have to work for a living. And they have what seems to be lots of family wealth. And I don't have a private jet. I have to work for a living. I have to work to make sure I could bring this information to everyone, to the public. And there's no paywalls and there's no programs, nothing like that. Of course, I don't mind when people monetize their websites or do what they want to do with their businesses, but I don't monetize my website like other people do. And meanwhile, this person has a private jet, lots of wealth, seems to be the number one plotter from what it looks like with the list and ranking system. And yeah, I mean, I'm speechless, really. I come from the working class, That's where I come from. But apparently this is an elite group. They're saying that in these recordings. So yeah, and knowing that these plotters are actually looking to get that documentary together, negative documentary, all of it, plus the article. And then when you look at the plotters and the information, they don't even care to even want to know what my name is. But yet my fate is in their hands, and the community's fate is in their hands of this plot. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So let's let this group speak for themselves more about their plot.
I mean, when you think about this from a journalist perspective, this piece is unfucking believable. I mean, this is a journalist dream. I mean, you want. I mean, the celebrities, the number of books sold.
Yeah, it is awful, and that's why there's an article coming out about him. I don't know if you know anything about that. And it's not a good one.
Yep.
I would not want to be on that train when that article comes out. I'm just saying. I think there's a lot coming, is what I think, which is why it's really good that they're telling you now.
Yeah, we're hopeful that once the article's out, one of the directors or producers that Britain works with will, become interested in telling the story really well. Oh, cool. Awesome. I'll pass that on to my husband. He was a cinematographer for that. He primarily has been working in documentary the last few years.
Britain was on the phone, and I was like, look, guys, like, Britain, I was like, you have the connections. Like, you were the cinematographer of Bad Vegan. Like, why don't you just go, like, just talk to people?
Yeah.
And then like, that's when Ash went and did, because, like, theoretically, without me pushing this along, why the fuck didn't Ash go to months prior, right? Like, why did she do that? Like, I feel like I instigated it.
Yeah. Okay. That would make a lot of money.
No question.
I'm in shock.
As I stated in part 1, this group appears to be using a manipulated story of a deceased person in order to drive out their goals. What we're uncovering again and again is, I mean, again, this is just kind of scratching the surface. It's that there are so many more layers to this. The deceased person, it seems to me, in all of these 17 hours of calls that I've had, all these recordings with these people as part of this group, is that the story is essentially a guise that really draws people in and really makes people feel like, oh, medical medium is so bad. But then as I was really speaking to these people and hearing them out about what was problematic about you to them, a huge percentage of it was just all of this other stuff. There were all of these other layers and all this stuff underneath the surface, these stories, these rumors, all of this twisted misinformation. And then you can kind of see in the recordings, in their own words, in a lot of these clips, what is actually going on behind the scenes and maybe what's driving these people in ways that I don't know if they realize, but maybe some people who are involved in this are being driven by, as I said before, some potentially misplaced grief or potentially guilt about their own involvement with the situation, something like that. But it seems like a lot of it is being driven by nefarious intentions and by what some of these people can stand to gain personally, professionally, financially, and otherwise from the fulfillment of this plot, this plan.
I'm seeing, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I can't get my words together because I'm hearing cinematographers making connections about the documentary that they're bringing to the media outlet. I'm hearing that. I'm hearing money is involved. I'm hearing a person talk about how they wouldn't want to be on this train when this article comes out, which is means they all knew, they're all plotting. It's their connections to the media company. It's all in these recordings. I heard it's a journalist's dream because they're selling it to a journalist saying, hey, this is a journalist's dream. I hear they're talking about how many numbers of books sold, things in that nature. This is a premeditated plot. Who can do this? It's unconscionable. Doesn't matter how much damage is done to the community. Doesn't matter anything. They have a strategy and a plan in place. It's all there in the recordings. I don't even know what to say when I hear these recordings. Can you replay that clip, the important clip? I mean, they're all important, but the important clip about they had the idea first, the plot, and they took it to the media company.
Britain was on the phone, and I was like, look, guys, like, Britain, I was like, you have the connections. Like, you were the cinematographer of Bad Vegan. Like, why don't you just go, like, just talk to the people?
Yeah.
And then like, that's when Ash went and did, because, like, theoretically, without me pushing this along, why the fuck didn't Ash go to months prior, right? Like, why did she do that? Like, I feel like I instigated it.
So it wasn't the media company that took upon the story upon themselves. The recordings say everything. It turns out it was their idea. That's the instigator there. And then the husband has the connections to the media outlet. And they took that plot to the media outlet. Sounds like took the plot to the media outlet using husband's connections too. And this is before it even started. So this is even early on. So what this plotter's saying, it's unthinkable. It's just unthinkable.
Yeah. And like you were saying before, we're showing motives, we're showing true intentions by these people saying these things in their own words. We're showing all of this colluding and just really interesting dynamics and how this story all came to be. And there's a serious lack of concern for the damage that essentially they intend to cause. So can you talk more about that and how this process has affected you?
Well, it's affected me for sure, but the worst part is it's affected the communities because I had to forfeit the book I was going to do for this year. That was going to be released in October, but there's no way to do it. So it was a spiritual book that everybody was waiting for. So I had to cancel that. 4 months straight with hundreds of questions from a journalist. And the crazy thing is, it's just, I haven't worked in 4 months for the community at all. So those are the things that I care about the most. Never mind the damage, involved with, my family and, all of that involved. It's really the big part for me is the future of getting the information out to the community and all that. So this is the first time since I started putting books out that I've had to forfeit and actually just cancel the whole book for this year for sure. So yeah, it's affecting my life, of course, but it's affecting which is what I always care about the most, which is the community and people who are struggling. That's always just number one for me. Anything in my life, it's secondary anyway, but still it hasn't been easy.
Yeah. For this to have affected the spiritual book that I know everybody in the community was so excited about and so much looking forward to, it just, there really aren't any words for how unfortunate, how disappointing, how awful this is. And again, hearing the true intentions behind it all, this whole thing is just completely unprecedented. It's something that's never happened before in the health and wellness industry. It's going to take some time for us to unpack this layer by layer. And I'm grateful again that I have the pure evidence straight from these people's mouths to be able to really show people what's been going on, because there are a lot of twists and turns to it. And I just want to also point out the fact that you, Anthony, have been talking about this all year. You've been talking about this even, I remember, I think before that, you've been talking about this for a while, that there are people who have been trying to take down the community, that's something that has become a major issue, and that people are not citing the original information back to medical medium and in the community. And this group, has been persuading others to join them and to do the same. And I know that a lot of people didn't really kind of believe what you'd been saying, didn't want to believe it, that there was really something like this going on. And so it's extremely sad. Unfortunately, it's true. And now everybody can hear it for themselves.
Is there any chance to play the last round of clips again for everybody? And I personally want to hear them because I just still can't even believe it.
I mean, when you think about this from a journalist perspective, this piece is unfucking believable. I mean, this is a journalist dream. I mean, you want, I mean, the celebrities, the number of books sold.
Yeah, it is awful, and that's why there's an article coming out about him. I don't know if you know anything about that.
Yeah.
It's not a good one.
Yep.
I would not want to be on that train when that article comes out. I'm just saying. I think there's a lot coming, is what I think, which is why it's really good that they're telling you now.
Yeah, we're hopeful that once the article's out, one of the directors or producers that Britton works with will, become interested in telling the story really well. Oh, cool. Awesome. I'll pass that on to my husband. He was a cinematographer for that. He primarily has been working in documentary the last few years.
Britton was on the phone, and I was like, look, guys, like, Britton, I was like, you have the connections. Like, you were the cinematographer of Bad Vegan. Like, why don't you just go, like, just talk to the people?
Yeah.
And then like, that's when Ash went and did, because, like, theoretically, without me pushing this along, why the fuck didn't Ash go to months prior, right? Like, why did she do that? Like, I feel like I instigated it.
So he instigated it and instigated the number one plotter and the number one plotter's husband to use connections to go to the mainstream media outlet to get an article going about a deceased person who happens to be a friend of the plotter's friend of mine, using her death and then having an article done by the media company so that bids, when it comes out, one of the plotters says, I don't want to be on that train when that comes out, all pushed by them. And then when the article comes out, bids for the documentary start, and then the husband has connections to producers. This is everything I heard on those recordings. And this is allowed by mainstream media. From what it looks like, these are highly, highly compromised sources that are rivals, business owners in the health space. Knocking out the medical medium community would probably be very helpful for some of them. From my opinion, from what I'm seeing from these recordings of their exact words, do you have any? So there's more than this. You have hours and hours of this.
Yes, there are still hours and hours of a lot of content from these recordings to unpack. And I intend that we'll keep going with this and continue peeling back these layers.
So investigator journalists, you're actually on the scene, and you have uncovered a plot and uncovered a plan. I've never seen anything like this in alternative medicine or the health and wellness space ever in my life. And I've been in the health and wellness space for a very long time. And I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
And it sounds like their plan is in the works and their plotted plan is happening. So I think that your recordings are extremely, extremely powerful, and the community, I'm sure, appreciates you bringing this to light and exposing the plotters and exposing their plan. And I thank you, and we have the community. I'm sure they thank you too, and truly honored that you're here. It's the morning. You get a call. It's a roller coaster ride waiting for you to take a fall. They send you on it. They got some balls. The fear and worry begins to rise. It feels it will never subside. You might die. You're taken away from what's truly important. Service to the people first. Private life always on the back burner, and hope someday you get to enjoy it. But I doubt it. Everything gets put on hold as you battle the devils and the ones that want my name sold. Very bold. As they try to run you over with a truck, they never show kindness. They don't care. No one yells duck. You go down, you hit the ground, but you're not running. You're sinking, but you're not drowning. And the tide begins to turn when the real truth burns. You never learned that the vultures eat your liver and overreach. As they go for your gizzard, mistakes are made and they breach. Now it's time. The skit flips. The clowns, once beaming, go screaming as they run out of town, fall on their faces. How does it feel now as you trip? Keep in mind, you're far from perfect. You think you're the shit. A message to remember when you're down here. We are all sisters and brothers. Some love one another. Some love to be gaslit, while some just love to gaslight, while others just love to fight. And some become self-lovers. Who are you to say you're better than the other? Be a tree among a forest of different creatures. As you get older, you find you're not supersonic, and you learn that your actions become your teachers.